Welcome to Packets and Bolts, podcast about technology, life, philosophy, and everything in between. It is Friday, May 3rd, 2024. This is your host, Muskrat, along with co-hosts Mongoose and Dubstench.
We're in a food coma.
Yes. All right, after surviving the eclipse, we take a look at the D.A.R.E program.
We survived some ribeyes, too. Oh, man.
Those are good ribeyes. The D.A.R.E program, is it effective or is it a waste of time? Do we dare to say no or yes to D.A.R.E? Let's find out. Email the show, packetsandbolts@gmail.com, packetsandbolts@gmail.com. Join us on Discord, follow us on Mastodon. All right. Let's get started.
Yes, let's.
Of course, we're going to listen. We're going to go through some headlines first.
Mix some drinks.
We might. Otherwise, we'll have something to drink. I don't know what it'll be yet.
Joining us at the table tonight are some cats.
Yeah, we do have cats. You might hear some purring. So the eclipse, just so everyone that was on the cliffhanger of whether we'd exist after that, we did, unless we're in a different universe. I don't know.
So did you guys hear about the, I was telling you about this the other day, Dubstanch, but there's a conspiracy theory going around that this eclipse was not actually an eclipse. It was a cover for an alien invasion.
And so what happened?
Where they wanted to settle Antarctica, and they gave us in exchange for the rights to settle AI. That's the conspiracy theory.
By who?
And what did the eclipse do to help that along?
So like the one thing that I think is interesting about that theory, even though I think it's total bullshit, is that they pointed out the fact that a lot of people said, and you were there, Muskrat, you saw the eclipse. So
yeah, I saw it.
Did the moon stop for a while over the sun?
I mean, it never stops, but it was there. It was totality for however long. What was it, 3 minutes or something? I don't know.
Yeah, so that's what people are clinging to with this is like, look, that was the alien mothership that covered up the sun.
Okay.
And it kind of sat there.
Sure.
And then when it moved off, it moved back behind the sun. But during that period of totality, it was masking some type of alien beam down. That was part of the conspiracy theories. They said that it was using, what is it, string theory? Where... quantum entanglement.
Okay, right, sure. Yeah.
Where they could basically be at one place and then on Earth and the next.
So there's a couple things with this. First of all, if it was going to go behind the sun, why? Second of all...
Because it's the mothership.
But, I mean, why did it have to... If it moved out of the way, why does it have to go behind the sun now? Well, anyways.
Yes. So first this thing goes in front of the sun, under the guise that it's the moon. Then quick shuffles back behind the sun. And all they want quantum entanglement so that they can go to Antarctica. Why didn't they just go there in the first place? Just zap themselves right there from the end of the sun.
The bigger question I have is why did they have to give us AI for Antarctica? Could we have stopped them from going to Antarctica?
Yeah, I think we got shafted on that deal.
Yeah, the bigger joke is that they gave us ChatGPT.
Yeah, which is garbage.
And it's getting the facts wrong.
Yeah, it's not even AI.
It's interesting.
AI has rotted so many people's brains that they're actually creating conspiracy theories where they actually think it's an advanced thing. It's an advanced chatbot. It's like chatbot. It's like 90s chatbot on steroids.
Well, you got to admit, AI just kind of came out of nowhere this last year.
Whatever.
It's an enhanced version of Yahoo chat rooms or
correct.
Or IRC.
Yes, that's it. All right, I was talking to chatbots in 1998. All right. Well, in case you didn't know, a second Boeing whistleblower died from a sudden illness. No, I don't have the details here. Was it rapid progression of influenza B and MRSA? In fact, wait a minute. This is the pharmaceutical companies teaming up with Boeing.
Why didn't they just say it was COVID?
Yeah, new COVID strain.
Maybe they couldn't get that to actually pass, so they had to say influenza B and MRSA. How did they get a MRSA infection? Isn't that usually when you have like a cut or something at the doctor and then MRSA?
Eyelash cancer.
Well, that's the kind of shit they'll do to you when they want to get rid of you. Like Bob Marley, he had like
a toe infection,
skin cancer that started in the toe. Really weird. And then just
yeah, but he was a Rastafarian, I believe, so he wasn't allowed to get medical treatment for it.
Listen, you don't just randomly get. They gave him whatever he got. They wanted him out of the way because he would have been the next Lenin. They killed Lenin. They killed him. I'm telling you, man. Now, who killed him? Was it the record company? Who knows? We'll have another podcast on
It's
this.
the real Paul McCartney who's still alive.
Yeah, I was going to say
the faux
reggae.
McCartney.
Why didn't they
faux-
replace Bob Marley with faux Bob?
They couldn't have done that.
Yeah, they already did it
That
once.
was too hard. Yeah.
They start doing it all the time.
Or did they say no? We don't need to do that because we got Ziggy Marley.
Because-
We got him in our pocket.
All right. Well, anyways, that's going on with Bowen. We'll see how many other whistleblowers started having sudden death syndrome.
So for now, we don't recommend you blow whistles. Well, maybe.
Yeah. Well, don't fly Boeings. That's for sure. Don't do that. All right. We might be getting Pod D scheduled to Schedule 3. We've been talking about this for 20 years.
Did you
Or
say
more.
pot?
Marijuana. Reefer, yeah. Might go to Schedule 3 in some time. I don't know how much longer. But the DEA agreed, which is very surprising to me. And now it has to go to some other stupid office to like get approved. I don't know, it seems to be a lot of red tape here.
I feel like there wasn't any of that red tape to make it illegal in the first place.
Right. That was Nixon basically, right? It was getting the hippies and the black people
Well,
in
Well,
jail.
the nylon industry weighing in on that.
And the reclassification isn't going to make it legal.
But in
It's still gonna
states
be-
that it is legal, it's going to be better. It'll make it easier to grow hemp, like you were talking about earlier.
Yeah. So it's going to remove a lot of the roadblocks to manufacturing things that can be made from, at least in part, from hemp.
And less severe penalties, because it's insane right now what it's scheduled at. It's like in heroin and
so
LSD territory.
Literally, we're on the verge of solving global warming because we can stop tearing down all the forests
And grow a bunch of hemp,
and just grow a bunch of hemp.
like Washington did.
Yeah. So instead of clearing a whole forest and then
Yeah.
planting and then waiting another 30 fucking years, well, you could just do it yearly. Hemp grows like weeds because it's a weed.
A weed is in the eye of the eye of the smoker. All right. So now, have you heard of the stripper index?
Oh, that sounds good.
The stripper index, business reviews studentorg.berkeley.edu. So apparently there's a stripper index where sex workers and strippers and stuff like that, I'm not sure if strippers are technically sex workers, but where they will give predictions on downturns based on the less tips they get. And this one stripper or this one prostitute from the Mustang Ranch was talking about how a lot of our clients that are wealthy men were selling large amounts of stocks. So there we go. The stripper index says downturn is coming. So just so you know.
Does that include all the women that do OnlyFans? Or men for that matter?
I don't know if they're part of it. I guess we should
This
find
sounds
out.
like more like they're in a intimate situation with these rich people and then get the inside gossip.
That's part of it, but also less money given to them.
Is that how we find out about Nancy Pelosi's stock trading from her male escort?
I think this is how we find out all the secret shit we want to find out. We need to get someone on the inside. So we need to find a prostitute willing to work with us, go undercover.
Yeah, let's go and drive around and ask random hookers on the street if they're getting less business now and if that means anything to them and see what they tell us. All right. Let's go to Milwaukee or something.
Oh, sure. Check out my portfolio.
On demand or on the spot reporting or whatever. All right. So sciencealert.com, enzymes discovered in gut bacteria can change a donor's blood groups. Now, what have I been telling everyone that will listen? That DNA is not the end all be all. And yet again, we find another thing that can change something that we think couldn't have been changed.
So what do you say by changing blood group? What do you mean?
Well, it's saying
So if you're A positive?
a new discovery by researchers from Denmark and Sweden could help in those emergency situations while also easing global shortages in blood supply. Team identified a mixture of enzymes made by a species of bacteria found in our gut that can, in lab studies, transform red blood cells into the universal type O with remarkably high efficiencies, improving on an idea hatched 40 years ago. Now, they don't go into the 40-year ago idea, except maybe further down because it's probably a poorly written AI article that doesn't know how to do that. But like virtually all cells in the human body, red blood cells are covered in a fuzz of unique sugary structures. These vary from person to person, with some supporting type A, some type B, some have both A and B, and others have neither, which is designated as O. Immune system that has never seen A or B will attack and destroy those. You know, we kind of get that, right? So when you're doing transfusions, blood type O is more widely accepted for most recipients. So that is what they're trying to do, is try to make blood more O. And now they get to the thing that was done 40 years ago. The technique was pioneered back in 1982 when scientists discovered an enzyme extracted from coffee beans that could strip type B cells of their surface sugars. But that enzyme reaction was very inefficient, making large-scale use impractical, despite early promise. For unknown reasons, donor blood was sometimes still incompatible with recipients despite donor cells being stripped of nearly all their antigens. So scientists went back to the drawing board, discovering other enzymes in collections of gut bacteria as recently as 2019. So the tricky part is that more than 40 blood group systems beyond ABO system and the rhesus factor, if you know about that, that are most familiar with. So that is what's going on as of 2022, according to this article. So at any rate, they took the stuff from the blood, the microbiome, and they're able to do that. So what they're going to try to do is just get all blood to be O, I'm guessing. I don't know.
Sounds like a conspiracy.
Well, it could be, yeah. Some people think that the negative people, I think it's the negative, right, are actually alien DNA. just to go back to the conspiracy about the UFOs in Antarctica.
Trevor's an alien.
So if you're like a negative or something like that, you're like a very small percentage of the population. They think that's coming from alien DNA.
Of course.
Some say this. That's the rhesus factor, like Reese's Pieces or something. I don't know.
Peanut butter cups.
Or we can just like beef up funding to stem cell research.
I'm sure the rich people are doing that already. They're going to try to get the life expanding technology and go from there. Yeah.
Well, there's a conspiracy about that too.
Which part?
The Fountain of Youth.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff going around right now about child sex trafficking or child trafficking, and the rich people feeding off children's adrenochrome.
Oh, well, you know what? I think that kind of stuff probably does have some. I'm sure that happens because basically, if there's something weird that you think is weird, too weird to do, some rich fuck's done it.
Oh yeah,
yeah. They just get rich and then they get these weird ass ideas and they're like, yeah, why don't I try this? You know, who's gonna stop me? I got enough money. Bill Gates sitting in a dark room, drinking weird chemicals from kids. I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm just theorizing.
See, I'm thinking if I were to get super rich somehow, yeah, I'd come up with a bunch of weird ideas too, but it wouldn't be like devious, evil things. It'd be silly nonsense.
Right. These guys are much more disturbed. So Bill Gates hung out with Epstein, right? And then he always tries to back away from that. You know, had dinner with them and, you know, suppose it was all innocent and he was just looking for funding. You know, this is the stuff that they do. You know, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, who else? Bezos, in some sort of weird, like, triangle jerk. Like, you know, the three richest people, like...
I don't know. I mean, Bezos just wants to build clocks in mountains and hang out on his yacht.
Do you
with his plastic wife?
Do you think
that was in the news lately?
Do you think so? Those are like the three richest people, aren't they? Or maybe not Musk anymore because the stocks are going down. I don't know. I don't know what the ranking is, but do you think like
probably the most popular rich people? But I think there's some other people.
When you
out
say
in, like,
popular, what do you mean?
Well, like those are the ones we hear about all the time.
Right.
But I think there's a couple people out in Europe or the Middle East that are right up there.
But do you think that when bringing up the popularity game, do you think there's a hierarchy of coolness among the billionaires? So is Richard Branson a billionaire, right? Do you think he rips on them because he's the coolest out of those douchebags?
I don't think he has time for that shit because he's got his own island and he's got all these fucking chicks that he's just banging.
Yeah, plus his own spaceship.
So he
and
doesn't
everything,
need
so-
to get the kids, like the people that went to Epstein, Branson. But that's what I'm saying. He probably rips on them because he's like the cool rich guy.
Yeah, he'd be like, whatever, guy. He's like, I got a fucking spaceship. I don't even have time for that shit.
Well, he's also Virgin Records, right? He was the.
Yeah.
Of course, it's called Virgin. I don't know. He might not be immune from all the weird shit that rich people do. I don't know.
Well, wait, he's British.
Yeah, he's British. Prince Andrew. I don't know.
I don't know. I'd visit his island if I was invited.
Richard Branson's.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd smash a case of beer with that guy.
If I was super rich, I wouldn't have an island. I'd have an atoll.
I'd have a colony beneath the ocean.
With a glass dome.
Or I'd go live with the aliens in Antarctica.
In Antarctica.
You're not allowed to go there.
All right.
Well, if I'm invited.
All right. So
Not.
here's another thing about alien DNA. According to scientificamerica.com, a random influx of DNA from a virus helped vertebrates become so stunningly successful. And I'm not going to go through all this because it's just another science article. But so what they're saying is they've found evidence that genetic material from a virus got into the genome of vertebrates' ancestors and enabled lightning-quick electrical impulses that allowed us to grow in size and have neurons that are longer and nerves and all that crap. I don't know if I believe
that-
all of their findings,
So
but
what happened when they injected us with all the DNA from the COVID virus,
I don't know what's going to happen.
aka the vaccine?
I don't know what's going to happen. How long do we have to know? When does it take effect?
That's true. We don't know.
Yeah.
There could be a trigger.
Oh, jeez. I didn't want to get it. I didn't want to.
You know, I was thinking maybe it was going to be the eclipse, like in that.
Yeah,
TV
they
series
activate it right there.
Heroes, where the eclipse is what triggers everybody's powers. Boom.
All right. Well, anyways, I don't necessarily agree with what they found some evidence, and I don't agree with the conclusion that like a virus came back in our cells way back in the day and it created the myelin or whatever the stuff that.
Myelin,
yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I agree that the virus did that conclusively.
Well, the
but it's
degeneration
possible.
of myelin is what leads us to
MS.
aging.
Well, also MS. Yeah. All right. Well, this one's right up Mongoose's alley. WSAW.com. Restaurant cook accused of putting his genitals in food items, police say. Now, Mongoose, as a former food worker, how prevalent is genitalia on food?
Well, I'll tell you, I never put my genitalia on food.
That's
And I never, in all my years, I think I cooked for over 10 years at different restaurants. I never once messed, or I should say, messed with somebody's food in a way that, that was like unhealthy.
In a way that
I
If
have,
you messed with it healthy ways.
I have like made people's food shitty because they're assholes, but it
just
wasn't.
like less care.
Yeah. Or like one time, it's like, oh, you want a French dip? Like, I'm not going to toast the bun.
I'll give you a
And-
French dip.
And the au jus and the meat's going to be cold, and I'm just going to slap it on there and send it out. Like, fuck you. So there's that, but I never, the worst I ever did was, like, we had the 5-second rule. So, like, there was one time I dropped a whole, like, ribeye on the floor or a T-bone or something. This is before it was cooked. So like within 5 seconds, I picked it up. We just threw it on the grill.
Did you rinse it?
I think I might have rinsed it. Yeah.
You're the guy who cooked that?
I mean, it's not good to rinse meat because, like,
Of course.
but
you also don't
bleeds
want
the juices
hairs
of
and-
it, yeah. But like it was, it's like we didn't throw that big piece of meat out. But I did work in a restaurant one time where I'm pretty sure that the prep cook / dishwasher was pissing in the pancake batter.
Oh my gosh. How were you sure or pretty sure?
Well, because I knew the guy. He was my roommate for a while,
Oh.
and I know he poured pickle juice in there, but just knowing that guy had a penchant for pissing wherever, I'm pretty sure he pissed in the
Do
pancake.
you think it
batter,
would make
so-
some tangy? Just extra tangy, mama.
I don't know.
That would reek while you're cooking it. There's no way.
I'm sure it got served, and I'm sure people ate it.
How big of a vat of pancake batter are we talking about here?
They made them in pretty big vats. I mean, we're talking like 3-4 gallon buckets.
So depending on the amount of piss to batter ratio, you might be able to not get that detected very easily.
And what he was drinking too, if he was drinking a lot of water, very diluted.
He was just a dick,
in
So
the-
I mean, this shit happened.
Were those buttermilk pancakes?
Yeah. Butter piss
See,
pancakes.
then the tanginess, it fits right in with the tanginess of the buttermilk. Well,
Yep, and then the kid orders a bear cake, and so you put little chocolate chips and make bear ears with the piss cake.
so
Chocolate chips or rabbit turds.
so let me just to
Oh,
allay the fears.
we also had a cook who made Nazi cakes. He'd put a chocolate chip swastika in the kids' pancakes.
Did
Yeah,
that go out?
and their waitresses would send it out
And did they? Because
if they complain, they get torn a new asshole by the cook.
Get in trouble?
No,
Did the parents complain?
no.
Nobody would say anything about it.
Just eat that up. So here's the thing: to allay fears of people that might have ate piss cakes, piss is sterile at the point of exit.
Right. It gets rid of the jellyfish things.
No.
Is it really?
Now, could someone have bad piss depending on their diet and other problems?
Well, maybe
Yes.
maybe
And it's
you got
definitely
like
not something you should be serving in a restaurant.
Famanga cheese on your dickhead in your helmet.
Smegma.
And so, it may be
Smegma.
sterile on exit, but it's getting all that.
Right.
It's mixing with the-
Yes. When you take an STD test, you are supposed to swab the tip.
Yeah.
So now let's just be clear. Mongoose has no direct knowledge that this was done. He just has a very strong assumption because this guy had a compulsion for
It's
pissing.
extremely likely, but I don't have proof.
But I mean, how would you do that? Like in a big thing, like what you came out of the bathroom with this big thing of batter and nobody questioned it. Like
No, the guy would have just walked back into the walk-in cooler, opened the lid, and took a piss in it.
So bad.
it's a bold move.
Okay, we're
I
gonna
would
have to
put
have a
money on
whole
it.
food industry episode because we'll have to have the tales from the freezer.
I used to smoke weed in the freezer.
That's just like the movie Waiting almost.
And then there was one restaurant I did that. I would always smoke weed at the end of the night, and then to make sure nobody caught me, I would lock it. And then one night, the waitress is like, "I gotta go get some out of the freezer. Can you unlock it?" I'm not. No, we're closing.
No, you don't have clearance. I'm sorry.
So it was just like it was all reeking like reefer in there. Is that why you locked
yeah.
it? That's why it was just
Yeah, I'd go shut myself in the freezer, get high, and then walk out.
And then lock it.
Yeah.
Why don't you blow it up into the exhaust hoods for?
Well, I tried, but
it's the coldness makes it condense and fall. All right, so there's a slew of critical attacks. Cisco's got several. There was an antivirus service that was delivered over unencrypted HTTP. What was that called? I don't remember what the name was. I thought it was something else, but
Avast. You're talking about the one that Avast found. It was
eScan antivirus.
Yeah, it was
eScan. So I've never heard of this one.
Who uses that for antivirus?
But yeah, it didn't use encryption, so they got hacked. Arcane Door hackers exploit Cisco 0 Day. Just a slew of that. So we're gonna just go.
Yeah, there's some huge vulnerability that was reported. So all our hundreds of ASA firewalls have to be upgraded now.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the Arcane backdoor and the whatever the other one was. So that's probably a state level actor making 0 days. To go along with the Antarctica issue that Mongoose was talking about, FoxWeather.com, an active volcano in Antarctica is spewing $6,000 in gold dust every day. Now, do you think the reason why the aliens want Antarctica is the gold dust?
Could be.
Yeah, could be part of it.
Yeah.
Could be.
So they're just coming around and sucking it up like what's that movie that ripped on Star Wars?
Spaceballs?
Spaceballs.
Yeah.
They're just like vacuuming.
Yeah, their
the
ship
volcano.
turns into a giant vacuum. It covers the sun for a couple minutes, slides behind the sun, then unleashes
Oh
the
my
vacuum.
God, it wasn't the moon that went in front of the
That was
sun.
a vacuum.
It was an alien Roomba.
So yes, that's what it was. It was circling it. All right, sciencenews.org. Scientists find a naturally occurring molecule that forms a fractal in your body, and they think that these could be fractal antennas, and that could be causing the problems from 5G and other, because we're receiving
God, this again.
signals, and it's frying us. Just saying. It's just saying. All right. Frontier affected by
The millimeter wave.
by a cyber attack. Well, even like the not so the higher frequency ones. we know about the Iran-Israel stuff. Well, according to Pepe Escobar, Israel attempted to launch drop an EMP nuke, and it was shot down over Jordan. Now, he has at least 2 sources that he claims.
Wait, it's an EMP and a nuke?
Well, it was a nuke that they were going to drop in an EMP fashion to knock out the power to most of Iran by dropping it high up, right?
Yeah.
Doing a burst far up. So now no one is reporting. It's actually been mysteriously quiet that no one has even tried to debunk Pepe. There have been people that say he's totally wrong, but the media has kept out of this. So my thought is it's probably true. And Pepe's got a pretty good, track record of being legit. So he's a journalist.
Isn't he like a drug lord?
He's not related.
He's not related to
Pablo
Pablo?
Escobar. No. So that's just another thing there. If you're eating Lunchables, according to MSN.com here, Lunchables have high levels of lead, new report says, and it's a lot to be concerned about.
Well, the lead,
what? The crackers?
I don't know.
ham.
The
The
whole
Cheese?
thing.
The ham? The
I think it's
turkey?
the ham.
How does the ham get so
Is it the little chicken nuggets?
probably the whole thing?
Or is it the little pepperonis?
build your own pizza ones?
If you needed more reason not to eat these things of destruction, lead is one thing that you could find in here.
Well, the lead helps you reject the
The microwave, that's
Yeah,
true.
makes you
You
more
know,
resilient.
you're going to need to eat more lead to become
It makes you more interesting.
lead does.
Some people may call you crazy.
whatever. And those 5G waves are bouncing right off of me.
So Kraft Heinz Lunchables contain the highest levels of both lead and sodium. Obviously, I would take sodium over the lead. But all brands tested, Kraft Heinz, Armor Lunch Makers, I didn't know about that. Good and Gather, that's from Target. Greenfield Natural Meat and Oscar Mayer. And the Kraft Heinz Lunchables contain the highest. So I don't know how we're getting so much crap into our thing, but if you knew how these animals are raised, like pigs and everything, I mean, they obviously could be eating a lot of really bad garbage in their feed and whatever else they give them. And I know someone, let me just give some information. You know how they've got all those laws that if you go into a meat processing plant and take pictures, you can get, it's against the law, supposedly. I don't know how that's constitutional. But anyways, this person has a pig farm, and the pig died, one of the pigs. And what would you do with a pig that dies in a pig farm?
Make bacon.
Well, that could be one thing you do with it. What else would you do with it, maybe?
Make the snout into a mask.
You'd take the pig out of the pen, right? Well, this guy apparently is pretty lazy, so he didn't do anything. And when asked, he just said, the pigs take care of it. So
That's true. They will.
They will, but that's not what you should be doing. So they ate the rotten carcass of this pig that died, and it's nasty. And then those pigs get sold to become our sausage.
So it's like super sausage.
Super sausage.
What's the downside of this?
The Lunchables have lead.
Well, is that where the lead's coming? How does lead come from?
If all the pigs are eating lead, and then the pigs eat each other, they get more lead, and then it's just a cascading effect.
So it's just an exponential,
the super sausage effect.
It's like bacon squared.
Maybe they're just feeding the pigs lead.
I mean, they feed them garbage. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty bad. All right. Boeings, we know that they're falling apart. Don't go on Boeings. We already said that.
We're going to say it a few more times in this podcast.
Yes, we will. Don't fly Boeing. Did you?
Yep.
Did you guys see the international man's testicles during the eclipse, where they were going live to people watching the eclipse, and then the guy shows us his nuts? Someone sent that to me, and I'm watching it, and I thought it was him. I thought it was the person that sent me the picture. I thought it was his nuts, and then I found out it was actually like a famous thing where they went live to some people showing the eclipse, and then the guy just dangles his nuts over his camera.
These nuts.
That was the most amazing thing ever. So lots of people saw this guy's nuts. Might be the most viewed nuts in history. I don't know.
He's famous. Famous nuts.
Did we already talk about this last episode? I don't know, but MSN.com, AI Actually Indians, Amazon's Just Walk Out Store checkout program was really run by a group of dudes in India. Yes, people just sat there watching the cameras and tried to track back what they grabbed and charged them.
Yeah, I think we talked about this.
Yeah, so AI actually Indians is probably what most AI actually is. Just so everyone's aware.
Well, that's why it's always wrong.
I know. When you're asking those questions, there's some people frantically typing, "What is the answer?"
Maybe it's like that one client we had with the backyard picnic table call center. Get ready, boys.
Oh yeah, I won't mention the name of the company, but
It sounded like they're run out of like a.
yeah, they were. Yeah,
Those are always the best companies when it's
their
like
data
they're-
center was in an outhouse.
like out of a garage. That's the best. Yeah, I like those. There's a supernova coming. Once in a lifetime nova. Sorry. But this could have already happened. This is from April 8th. This is
so old.
boingboing.net. Yeah, there was some, I don't know what the hell star might be
Isn't
going
that star
nova.
Beetlejuice that,
So
that we're
That's
watching?
about to go anytime.
Yeah, I think that's what this is going to pop pretty soon.
Our stories are so old, Muskrat.
Yeah, well, that's
What
happens
about
when we
all the
don't
what
do
about
every-
the pro-Palestine riots at all these universities?
Well, yes, the crackdown on free speech is going full tilt in America as we slip into fascism. Next topic should be that, but yeah, basically you've got a bunch of basically the 60s going all over again, and they're just locking people up. Actually, Jill Stein got arrested and charged with assault, which obviously is bullshit. And yeah, people are just getting thrown into jail now.
Did you see the protesters that went on hunger strike, and so a bunch of college Republicans came out and had a barbecue right next to them?
No, I didn't see that. I did not, but that doesn't surprise me.
That's excellent.
That's peaceful.
That would be peaceful, yes. Decaf coffee is not safe for human consumption. That's something that probably most people already knew.
Who drinks decaf coffee? What's the point?
They're petitioning. I know they're petitioning the FDA to ban the methylene chloride, which is one way of decaffeinating. There are supposedly other safer ways, but I wouldn't trust anything decaffeinated. Don't do it. Just say no.
Got like NA beer.
Channel3000.com, Wisconsin man convicted in decades-long identity theft that led to his victim being jailed. Yes, his victim was jailed for a while, and now finally, well, actually, he was put in a mental institute that never had a trial, which probably would have shown he was legit. They threw him in a mental lockup, which I don't know how that's allowed, and then that deferred the truth coming out for a while. But now the guy is finally caught and he's going to jail.
Yeah, because then the guy he was like, whose identity was stolen, he was insisting he didn't make these charges, and everybody thought he was just nuts.
Yeah. Right. Yes.
Wow, I'd be pissed.
Yeah. Those are the stories. Friday, May 3rd, 2024.
Oh, there's got to be more.
I mean, obviously there could be more.
We're always like a month behind on our stories. And then afterwards, we're always like, why didn't we mention that?
Well, we were busy eating steaks. So that's the problem.
That's the real news.
Yeah.
That is. But unless you've got something right now.
Oh, what about the guy who burned himself outside the Trump rally?
Yeah, well, yeah, that to go along with the. There's been a recent spat of self-immolation. Now, I didn't look up what his point was that he was making. So, do you have that information why he burned himself?
Not verbatim, but he threw out a bunch of leaflets in the vicinity before he set himself on fire, and he gave a bunch of like live streams, like complaining about. I mean, it was very conspiratorial. It was like both parties are corrupt and we're doomed and this is a tyranny and we're fucked. And then what's crazy is the guy set himself on fire, and then like a day later, everybody's like, okay.
Well, that's
So I mean, like
that's been happening with self-immolations lately.
That never really seems to solve anything anyway. People are like,
you know,
okay,
when you
on
go
fire.
through the thought process of like, I think I'm going to become a martyr and set myself on fire, you don't realize maybe that people don't give a shit.
It doesn't
Well,
really
it's not just that. The media purposely doesn't really give much light to it because our mainstream is totally locked up.
Well, they'll either not give it a lot of light, or they'll kind of control the narrative and spin it.
Yeah, just like when the pro-Palestinian trying to raise awareness to the genocide, they kind of just brushed that under the rug. And the best telling picture of that event was the guy that was trying to put the person out, and the Israeli guard pointing a gun at the guy that had set himself on fire. It's the most damning picture of how their thought process works.
Oh, what if he runs and tries to set somebody else?
Sure. Yeah. Well,
anyway, that guy apparently was well educated. He had a bachelor's, he had a master's, and I think he even had a PhD. And it was in like city planning and development and stuff like that. So, and I guess an old college roommate of his or friend said that the guy was like a walking encyclopedia. That like anything you'd ask, it was like you were asking Google, because he always had the right answer and it always checked out. So like that could have been one of those cases where like genius borderlines insanity.
Well, throughout history, self-immolation in recent history has changed our paths. Vietnam War, the famous one, right? The monk. And then the Arab Spring was started by the, I can't remember his name, that burned himself in the Middle East. So usually it has profound effects. Now, I still think that this could have effects, all of these issues. We're seeing the protests for campuses going on. His thing, it sounds more like he was kind of like the, what was that guy's name? So I don't know much about him because I haven't, you're reading these things. So if he was well educated, it could be like the, what was the guy's name? The Unabomber. He was brilliant too. Kaczynski. He was brilliant too. And so maybe he just didn't see us coming back from whatever bad, dark path that we're going down. And so he lost hope.
So speaking of education, here's one. Daily Mail. That's what this is, right? As research warns IQ is falling for the first time ever. It says our map reveals average scores in every U.S. state. So apparently...
That's the Lunchables.
The average IQ levels in the United States dropped to 98.
That's the Lunchables, man.
Which is falling below the national standards. It's the first time in 100 years that average IQ scores have dropped.
Why am I not surprised?
And experts believe it's due to increasing technology use.
That's part of it, but there's also a lot of toxic chemicals.
So, I mean, since 1905, there's been a 30-point increase based on scores in logic, vocabulary, spatial reasoning, and visual and mathematical problem-solving skills. But now it's dipped.
Well, there's also
so
not teaching real stuff in school and allowing like
they don't teach
morons to run around like say whatever they want. A lot of that going around too.
Yeah, so it was 100 last year. It fell to 98.
That's a pretty big dip.
So number one
That's
in the
average.
United States, highest IQ average is New Hampshire, 103.2. And let me tell you, the three states with the lowest IQ.
Florida.
Nope.
Arkansas.
California.
Mississippi's one.
Okay, there's
Louisiana is another one.
Oh, poor Louisiana. I love Louisiana.
And
The Bayou.
New Mexico. Interesting.
There's not a lot of people in New Mexico.
But it's interesting because according to this, the southern states have lower IQs than the northern states. And Minnesota is like top 5. So Wisconsin's up there. But Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Minnesota are the top.
Idiots. Oh,
North Dakota, Wyoming tied for the 5th spot.
North Dakota?
North Dakota and Wyoming tied for 5th.
wait, nobody actually lives in Wyoming.
Yeah, there's no one in those sparsely populated areas. You can't, like 5 people that are smart will just make it like.
Yeah, nobody actually lives in Wyoming. Do you know anybody who really?
No, because people get smart and they're like, I don't want to live around stupid fucking idiots. I'm going to move out to North Dakota and Wyoming where there's nobody out here.
You can't count that because it's just there's too low of a number to care. Who cares? Whether they're stupid or smart, it doesn't matter. You got to take a high population state.
Like
What's
the
California?
Electoral College of IQ.
What's California and Texas stand in those in New York? That's a better judge of our overall.
New York is kind of middle of the pack. California is down there.
Okay. And Texas.
Texas is down there too.
Okay. So overall, we're just morons.
Yeah,
the United States has become
generally
moron.
we're just a bunch of fucking morons.
Yeah.
And any of the smart people probably got out years ago.
It's like when I bring up, and we had that podcast a few years ago, Muskrat, if you remember, we were talking about the standard of living and how the United States is falling behind.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of life expectancy, like happiness ratings, standard of living. And then I tell this to some people, and they bristle, and they get all pissed off. America's number one. What are you talking about?
The propaganda.
Well, that's the fucking hubris and the idiocy that we're surrounded by.
Yeah, that's what prevents us from actually making any differences, because we always start every conversation as if we're doing everything the best. We can't look at any other country and how they do things. So we just keep going in our own little delusional world.
It's a byproduct of nationalism. Like, we've been brought up to think that the United States is number one. We're the freest country in the world, and the fact is, it's not true.
Yeah. Yep.
Not anymore, at least.
Yep. You got two choices: paper or plastic. That's what Carlin said. All right. That's our freedom. It is Friday, May 3rd, 2024. Email the show, packetsandbolts@gmail.com. Packetsandbolts@gmail.com. We're going to go to a short break, and we'll be back with, I don't know if we're going to, what drink we're going to have here, but we'll have something. And I don't remember. Be right back.
Hank Carlson here, proprietor of Baked Beans and Books and Furries Wear Boots. Did you ever wonder how many bites it would take to get to the bottom of a giant vat of baked beans? Well, I tried it once, but all the beans kept collapsing in on the hole I was making. I ate the whole vat. Stop on down to Baked Beans and Books to get yourself a heaping handful of baked beans and peruse the selection of books. While you're at it, stop at Furries Wear Boots. 11111 State Street, Madison, Wisconsin. Baked Beans and Books. When books just aren't enough.
All right, we're back. It is Friday, May 3rd, 2024. Talking D.A.R.E. Dare to care.
Truth or dare.
Email the show, packetsandbolts@gmail.com. Packetsandbolts@gmail.com. All right, but right now, we're going to have a cocktail and maybe a beer. Oh, look at that. There's a beer, too. All right, we're having a... I think we need to get a condenser mic. All right.
I think
we
need
to stop
phantom power.
We have it. It supports it. All right. Actually, that goes to one of the emails that's in here. But before we get to that, we're drinking a classic margarita, but I think Mongoose added some, which some people do. They add agave nectar. Is that what?
Agave. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So it's tequila. Not going to say what type. Mm-hmm. It's not bottom of shelf. Okay. Well, it's Jose.
It's 100% blue agave, though.
Yeah.
It's not the normal.
And then, what was it, Cointreau?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then lime juice and that agave nectar. Good.
All right.
Well, of course, the salt on the rim.
Mm-hmm.
The lime garnish.
The rim job. Yeah.
Those things will get you into trouble.
Ah, yes. Yeah. All right.
Best margarita I've ever seen was a giant fishbowl margarita with 2 beers stuck into it. Remember that?
Was that one of our
Yeah.
work outings? Yeah, that was. I think I drank dinner.
Didn't you have one of those?
Yeah, me and our other guy. We drank our dinner that night. That was.
I don't understand the beers.
Yeah, you guys didn't eat anything. You just drank.
Yeah, but we weren't the ones calling like 30 Ubers.
That was a different party.
Oh yeah, that's right. That was the year previous year.
Why do they dunk the beers into a margarita? That doesn't make sense.
It was
never made sense to me.
God, I can't think of the name of the beer now.
Corona Rita.
Yeah, it was Corona.
Yeah, like 2 Coronas.
Yeah, I don't know why they do that.
I don't know. It was a decent drink. Really got ready, good lubed up.
It was
Ready
a
for
good primer, yeah.
Lubed up and ready
Partied
to
hard
go.
that night.
Yeah,
The hot nieces were there.
I've got nothing bad to say about that.
Not
right.
my nieces.
Yeah, yeah. That was
Yeah,
kind of
let's clarify.
kind
That
of
was
a weird-
another
kind of a weird
coworker's
statement.
another coworker's nieces.
Niece by proxy. All right. We got a couple emails here. Signot writes, why are there so many planes making clouds these days? Ooh. The crisscross applesauce patterns of chemtrails. I'm sorry, contrails. Sorry.
It's one of the things I talked about with my my barber this morning. Yeah, the cloud seeding, weather manipulation.
Well, that's really happening. Farmers have been doing that for years. That's not nothing new.
Well, what does she say about this?
Well, obviously she believes it, but I mean, we both talked about how the military basically outed themselves years ago, and so she knew about that, so it was interesting.
Yeah, well,
When did they out themselves? What do you mean?
So there is a, and I think this is brought to attention by, was it Tom Bearden, who was, he's former military, and he talks about interscalar interferometry, but he's also involved in some weather. I think they call it the Weather Wars Project or something.
All right. Yeah.
I think he's been on Coast to Coast before.
All right.
Space Coast to Coast?
He brought to attention that there was I don't know if it was a meeting with the Joint Chiefs, but it was public. So it was some meeting with the higher echelon, and they basically said that we're doing weather manipulation.
I mean, yeah, I believe. I mean, totally. Just interesting that he came out and said it. Said the quiet part out loud.
Yeah, I mean, it was very matter of fact, and this is years ago, but that's what boggles my mind is when people say, no, it's a conspiracy theory, that nobody's doing anything to the weather. Well, didn't you hear the military say that? So I'll have to dig that up. But,
Yeah.
I mean, if they admitted it, how can people continue to deny it?
Right. Yeah. It's just yet another.
Yeah, I'm not denying that that's going on. Like, farmers have been doing it for years. Yeah, it has been a military thing for a long time. Your random passenger jets flying around, and the trails you see from that is all like that too secretly. Like that, I have a hard time swallowing.
Well, when you see all of the trails they make in a crisscross pattern that then turn into.
So there must be some. So let's say there's something nefarious in these things that the jet is ejecting out. So who's putting that in there? And they have mechanics on these things between every flight. Like, is there some device that the or these plane mechanics, like either they're in on it or like they don't see these things? Like,
well, the schematics for the technology has been out there for 50 years.
Yeah.
So they have the blueprints for like the aerosol mechanisms that these planes have.
So when
so
you're
that's
working,
also out there.
So if you're a mechanic working on a plane between flights, you like looking at this, shouldn't you identify like, hey, what the hell's this weird part? Like,
well, they're probably sworn to secrecy.
Well, there have been people that have talked. Now, whether or not you believe that they're telling the truth, there are people on planes that say they are paid to spray this crap. And what people think what's happening is that they're just trying to keep the global warming from getting too hot. So that's why we don't have clear blue skies most of the time. And it's been getting worse in my last few years. I mean, on a sunny day, you'll see all of a sudden 800 jets coming through, and it's just like it spreads and turns the whole sky gray.
But I mean, if you look back to, when did weather radar become a thing? Okay, when did satellite imagery become a thing? Okay, the cloud shapes weren't always in linear types of patterns. Like, they were just sporadic clouds that drifted over the United States. That's what we're concerned about, right? But within the last 30, 40 years, maybe not that long, but it's been a while now, where you start to see that you have these shapes in the clouds. Like, they're linear, like, they're angular, and it's all because of, I think, the contrails or the chemtrails that they're You're like, how did the clouds all of a sudden go from just like bushy clouds that are moving around to all of a sudden you have like angular shapes?
Or just one big gray background. There's not even a distinct shape of a cloud.
Well, you kind of said it already. Like, how long have we had radar and satellite imagery to see this stuff? Like, how do you know like there wasn't a period of time where clouds were looking like that like 100 years ago or 200 years ago where there was no way to like easily spot it or identify it?
Yeah, but I'm talking about just clouds, shapes of clouds, distinct clouds. There's less of those now, and it's either all gray background like we're in a polluted environment. But the day before you'll see blue skies before the jets come, and then it just becomes a nondescript gray background.
And after the jets come, everybody's cranky.
You know, they're probably dropping lead on us.
Maybe
too.
that's just my
The
imagination,
IQ, man,
but I
IQ.
feel like people's like attitudes change with like the weather, literally.
Yeah.
These days.
Well, the weather, yeah.
Well, it all about the fractal antennas, man, and the radiation. All right.
And the piss pancakes.
All right, piss pancakes will do it, man. Piss cakes. All right, so we got another one here. Signed Sherms McGurms.
Nice.
What microphones do you use, and when will you live stream?
Ooh, we're just talking about the live stream thing.
We were, yeah.
So before we get into audio equipment, I was thinking if we did a live stream, we'd have to use animated avatars with our animals, our spirit animals.
Or
So like a mongoose.
Well, right, but I don't know what Dub Stench avatar is. A Dub Stench like DJ?
He's a dub stench.
It's like a DJ guy.
I mean, why just you have masks that are just masks? Like, why have to be related to anything?
This brings back an idea that we had back at the place that we wanted to do a what's that called? You know, Wayne's World was a
It's like a
cable access.
cable access.
We were gonna wear masks of the Beatles. I was gonna be Lennon, and I don't remember who our other roommate was gonna be. I don't know what you were. Someone was gonna be Dylan. That was probably our other roommate.
Yeah,
probably 100%.
And
I don't remember who you were gonna be.
Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, we could do that, and then we would just pontificate. Yeah. Well, we'll address that. I don't know about.
Do they even do that anymore?
masks. I don't know what
If they do, nobody
there is
watches.
cable access. Yeah.
Well,
but
wait,
it'd be-
we're saying live streaming. Does that? I guess we just assume that's video. I mean,
Right, but I'd rather do animation.
Yeah, regardless, like a lot of podcasts are going the way where you get video with it. And
well, what about all those like weird Zoom like filters, like where you can be like a potato?
Yeah, we could do that. Let's do that. Let's be a potato.
We'll find the most hilarious Zoom filters, and yeah.
or a cat. Judge, I swear I'm not a cat. You know,
All right.
where the lawyer joins the trial meeting and he's got the image of a cat because his kid or something was playing with it, and he's like, my assistant's trying to fix it. And the judge is like, I know you're not a cat.
Yeah, I can't remember where that was from. Was that Saturday Night Live?
No, that was a legitimate thing that went viral.
Oh shit, that's right. It wasn't one of our news stories.
It was a Zoom meeting with a trial.
We
during
covered
COVID.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw where a guy would like showed up for video on court, and he said he was using a friend's computer, but for the name in the pane he was in, it said something like major butt fucker or something like ridiculous like that. And the judge was not,
Yeah.
impressed.
Why would you call yourself that?
Well, he was like, I didn't. He's like, I just signed in. This is a friend's computer. Like, I don't know how to change it. Like, I don't
The
know.
judge was not having that.
That
No,
would be
like-
hilarious.
no.
Major butt fucker.
Or it was something like that.
I don't know how to change this.
That's the best roommate prank. Gotcha, fucker.
Yeah. Screw you. You got me a different court
that's
date.
like something piss cakes would do.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll take that into consideration when we do our only fan streams. We'll only streams. All right, so that's like a golden
Or
shower.
we could do the live stream video, but like only see our feet.
Hey, why doesn't piss cakes do piss porn?
I don't know, but I think that piss cakes dude is dead,
Jeez.
and the world's a better place.
Pretty
for
macabre.
It.
That's pretty
Yeah,
macabre.
sorry.
But anyway, all right, let's go to the audio. So we'll take the live stream consideration, and maybe we'll do a special stream. But anyways, what are we talking about? The audio equipment. Okay, so we, I think, universally use dynamic mics currently, which some would argue is not the best mic for a podcast. But those are the people that say that can fuck off, because there is one advantage to dynamic mics. Would you care to elaborate, Mongoose?
Well, obviously the different microphones have different microphone patterns or directional patterns. The one I'm using is a Shure PG58, and it's very directional. So if I go off to the side like this, it's not. So if I was using a Beta 58 right now, I'd be much more clear, right? Those are better microphones. But like this, I have to be very head on, right?
Head on.
The cone is like right there. I think Dub Stench is using a SM58.
Damn straight.
More of an instrument mic, but high quality. Looks like you're using. Is that a Shure PG58 too?
It is the non beta. What's the
PG?
It's the voice version of his mic.
Well, the 57s are the instrument mics. That's a Beta 57. So
This
that's
is
a
the-
PG58.
SM58.
An SM58?
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, maybe it is. Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, it is. So this is not the one that's used in the band. That is a beta. But the thing about dynamic mics is they don't have as much background noise. So some would argue that for a podcast you want the more sensitive condenser.
But for those, you need the phantom power, plus 48 volts.
Yeah, which we've got the capability, but
Most things do, yeah.
But the background noise pickup is what I avoided by going with dynamic mics. So if we used a condenser, it might be for sound effects for drinks and things like that. But, you know, we probably should look someday at that. One of the problems is also we have to be pretty close to our mics for a dynamic. And Mongoose sometimes strays away from his microphone. And besides the fact that his
all by design.
directional mic, it also loses.
I'm a wizard with my sound fields here. I can move.
He's exploring the space.
That's right. Need more cowbell.
So yeah, so the dynamic I would say is a warmer.
We should get
A warmer.
manual mic and like have it on a Lazy Susan and spin it.
We could have a room mic though, and if we did, it would be dynamic, a condenser.
Well, we've done that. We've had the room mic before.
Yeah, and that's usually for drinks. I wanted to have a dedicated drink mic, but we're not
Well,
that.
we run that when we have on the phone guests.
But that'll be on the laptop. Yeah, and that doesn't go into the system usually.
So you want to talk about your audio?
No,
No.
that
It's a
wasn't the
secret.
question.
It's a secret.
That wasn't the question. They
Wait.
asked about microphones.
I thought you said it wasn't just about microphones.
It was what microphones do you use and when will you live stream?
Oh.
We don't have to talk about our whole setup. We did originally have a 16-channel mixer that I connected to my computer with the audio in connection. And that was a very interesting setup because I had this giant mixer for like one or two things connecting to it.
Looks cool though.
Yeah, it did allow
That
some.
was like year 1 and 2 of
Yeah.
Packets and Bolts.
It did allow some good control,
We've evolved.
but this is a more all-in-one unit. This is actually a common setup. There's nothing proprietary or secret about this, but this wasn't the question, so we're not going to go into that.
We're not sponsored.
In interest of time. Email us showpacketsandbolts@gmail.com, packetsandbolts@gmail.com. All right, so our main topic today is something that I always was fascinated with, this tricky little thing called D.A.R.E. Now, Mongoose, you've done some investigative reporting, and you've come to some conclusions. And D.A.R.E. has been under scrutiny for a while. I think a few years ago they tried canceling it, but the police got together. They locked arms, kind of like the pro-Palestinian protests. And they said, no, we want our D.A.R.E. Why do you think cops like D.A.R.E. so much? And what did your reporting find?
Yeah, well, first of all, I came to these conclusions before I did my research because I knew it's a bunch of fucking bullshit.
Well, that sounds like you walked in biased.
You know, and something happened with a family member where, like, I realized, oh, they're still teaching this shit. But D.A.R.E stands for, originally it stood for Drug Abuse Resistance Education. Okay?
Did they change it?
I don't think so, but it's expanded, and we'll talk about that. But actually, I think that we, and not trying to date ourselves or offer any insight into how old we are, but I believe that when we were in 5th grade, we were the first class.
I believe so, yeah.
We were the inaugural
Prototype.
year of D.A.R.E.
We were the prototypes.
And we ended up learning a lot about drugs and how to use them, and that was the main takeaway. So,
but not abuse them.
Yeah, of course not.
Moderation.
So maybe it did help.
They taught the importance of microdosing and...
So for those who are not familiar, drug abuse resistance education, I believe it began in 1983, but it didn't start getting pushed out to schools until much later. And I believe, at least in our area, we were the inaugural year. But it really started as part of, the war on drugs that Nancy Reagan was championing. That was her First Lady project. Of course, that was all in the news, say no to drugs, back during the Reagan administration, and that's kind of where it got its lift off. You talk about the police having kind of this kung fu grip on D.A.R.E. and championing it, but we found in some of these studies and some of the reports and narratives that have come out over the years is that D.A.R.E. is kind of an institution, and maybe it's championed by law enforcement, but it's an organization that puts out curriculum to schools, and in some circumstances, this organization has been belligerent and has actually threatened people. So we'll talk about
What? Threatening people?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, are they going to email the show?
I don't know, but I want to kind of lead into this with 2018. There was and they had these conferences, the Drug Abuse Resistance Education, the D.A.R.E. conferences.
Interesting.
So this is specifically from spring of 2018. That's when I think Trump was in office, but Attorney General Jeff Sessions was at this conference, and he praised the past work and the work to date of the anti-drug program. He said it saved lives. He said, quote, "I believe that D.A.R.E. was instrumental to our success by educating children on the dangers of drug use. I firmly believe that you have saved lives, and I want to say thank you for that. Whenever I ask adults around age 30 about prevention, they always mention the D.A.R.E. program. Your efforts work. Lives and futures are saved." Okay, so let's
words.
Let's turn back the clock to where after D.A.R.E. really took hold. Again, we were in 5th grade when this happened. What year was that? I don't know. I'm not even gonna. But the first notable study was sponsored, I believe, by Phi Delta Kappa. It sounds like fraternity, but Phi Delta Kappa International is actually a professional organization. It's not a fraternity. This particular study, I could only find via the web archive. So I had to use the Internet Wayback Machine. I couldn't find it online, but of course the archives of the Internet are there. This study was 1992. It was the first assessment of the long-term effects of the program. It was commissioned by school officials in Kokomo, Indiana. And then researchers from Indiana University compared the drug use rates of the 1991 senior class, which had never been exposed to Project D.A.R.E., with the 1992 senior class, which was exposed to Project D.A.R.E. in the 7th grade, using the D.A.R.E. scale, they called it.
D.A.R.E. stare.
The researchers found no significant differences between the two groups regarding self-reports of lifetime usage, how recently they had used drugs, how often they used drugs, or the grade in which they started using drugs. One exception, though, was that the D.A.R.E. seniors reported significantly higher rates of use of hallucinogens over the 30 days prior to answering the questionnaire. The researchers also found no significant long-term effects on students' ability to resist peer pressure or their self-esteem as a result of exposure to Project D.A.R.E.
So they interviewed or took a survey amongst high school kids and asked them the stuff. So
How many are going to be honest?
So I think I remember taking a survey like this and being ridiculous on it. Like,
All over the place?
yeah, like just like painting like a crazy picture, like I'm just like a drug up crazy lunatic and laughing about it. And
I think I remember something like that, but I probably answered all like, no.
yeah, they're
no.
gonna have that where like people are scared, like, oh my god, it's just
Yeah, obviously.
come
You're
get me,
being
or
watched.
not take it seriously. So how you're interviewing high school kids about drugs?
Yeah, the results could have been skewed,
And I don't think you can take all that numbers into consideration.
but like you're talking about a control group of kids who hadn't taken the course and the kids that had.
And they
I
had
mean,
the similar
Why
result.
wouldn't the kids that hadn't taken the course be just as ridiculous?
Right. No, you're right. It's still, between the two groups, it was a wash, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't need D.A.R.E classes.
Yeah, but ultimately, the kids that took D.A.R.E were doing more psychedelics.
Yeah, right.
Because they're fun. Thanks for teaching us about that, D.A.R.E folks. So the next study, this one I found from the Spartanburg, South Carolina Herald Journal, but it was also published in many other sources. This is just a newspaper clipping I found. In 1994, the Research Triangle Institute, also known as RTI, of course, their scientists evaluated 8 previous quantitative analyses on D.A.R.E's efficacy that were found to meet their requirements for rigor. So basically, they were trying to determine, are these decent studies? They found some. And then the researchers determined that D.A.R.E's long-term effect could not be determined because the corresponding studies were compromised by severe control group attrition or contamination. But the study concluded that in the short term, D.A.R.E imparts a large amount of information, but it has little or no impact on students' drug use, and that much smaller interactive programs were more effective. But after the 1994 study, an article, and this is interesting, this is what I was talking about earlier, an article in the LA Times stated that the D.A.R.E organization spent $41,000 to try to prevent widespread distribution of the RTI report and started legal action aimed at squelching the study.
What?
The director of publication of the American Journal of Public Health told USA Today that D.A.R.E has tried to interfere with the publication of this study. They tried to intimidate us.
Wow.
That's
pretty...
So D.A.R.E's got a lot of money to be thrown around and start like threatening litigation and suppressing studies.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what the ulterior motives
It's
are.
just it's a cash bucket is all it is.
Yeah, somebody's making money
Could
off
be
of
sex
this, right?
trafficking. It's always sex trafficking.
Or those T-shirts.
So then another study. I'm full of studies
That's
here.
where they're making all the money.
So from the California State University at Northridge, 1995, a report to the California Department of Education by Joel Brown, PhD, I believe he was also affiliated with the University of California at Berkeley, stated that none of California's drug education programs worked, including D.A.R.E. He said, quote, California's drug education programs, D.A.R.E being the largest of them, simply doesn't work. More than 40% of the students told researchers they were not at all influenced by drug educators or programs. Nearly 70% reported neutral to negative feelings about those delivering the anti-drug message. So people are put off when they're told not to do drugs.
Well, the main thing was
Don't do drugs
it's
and
delivered
crime.
by cops. So, well, it is like people like and cops come up with like a zero tolerance, like no, like you can't do this at all. Like you're an idiot if you do. Like that's it. They're not really equipped to handle like you were talking before, like
Nuance.
or psychological, the psychological aspect of it, or handle individuals, unique scenarios where cops have a negative.
Well, you know what my biggest takeaway from D.A.R.E was? I don't know about you, and you guys can tell me if...
That's what mine was. The mascot. Remember the lion?
I do not remember that
This
line.
guy.
That looks like Tony the Tiger. But
I do remember that. Yeah.
my biggest takeaway, and you tell me, guys, if you had this feeling, was, all the scenarios we would do, the role-playing with the pushers. So I actually thought that was real. And then when I got older and realized there's no one out there, like, pushing drugs...
Nobody's trying to like push drugs on third graders because A, they don't have any money, and B, like they don't need to go find people to put drugs on. Like,
Shoot this heroin or I'm going to kick your ass, kid.
I don't think there's many drug dealers who are like man, how am I going to get rid of all this crack? Like I need to open up to a new market.
Damn it, I got so many drugs and I don't know how to get rid of them, man.
Piled up all over the house.
I got to go push them on some kids.
I got to do some cold sales.
So in some circles, educators and administrators have admitted that D.A.R.E, in fact, potentially increased students' exposure and knowledge of unknown drugs and controlled substances.
It shouldn't be a problem. I'm all about knowledge.
It resulted in experimentation and consumption of narcotics at a much younger age. Criticism focused on failure and misuse of taxpayer dollars with either ineffective or negative results statewide in California.
So do you think the conspiracy, other than the T-shirt printing, which maybe there's some burned out hippie that's just printing all these T-shirts and that's how he made it rich? He's just like, we got to make the T-shirts, man.
Are there some parody versions of the shirt too?
But
Oh yeah, they're still out there too.
But what if the real conspiracy? Okay, no, I don't want to. I don't want to end up like a Boeing whistleblower here. But you've got the T-shirt conspiracy, right? There's a T-shirt angle.
Don't forget the rular conspiracy. I love the D.A.R.E. rulers. Those were
right, yeah,
sweet
you got a
rulers.
black ruler, yeah. I think I stabbed my back.
They were heavy duty too.
Yeah, and where'd my D.A.R.E. book go? I might have that somewhere.
I know, but the rulers you could file down to a shiv. It was great.
And they really made a cool sound when you did the on the desk, and move them.
That's true. Huh?
Well, they also had designer bongs and stuff, and I remember asking why are there like tubes on the side of the bong? And he's like, oh, it's just like some decorations, like a designer bong. And that's what he actually said. But what if the real conspiracy is how many cops you think are involved in this program? The real conspiracy is to get 10% or 1% of the cops sitting around playing with children.
Oh, I think that's what they have cops doing. Either you got nothing else to do.
They do play with the kids.
I think the cops that they end up having to do that are the ones that you're either it's almost like a punishment.
Maybe, but here's the deal: they're playing with you in the playground with a gun. They're fully armed, playing football and stuff with you.
Are you sure they
Want to hold my gun, child?
That's the real conspiracy, right there.
Not that gun. So, 1998 study. Okay, we're not done here. The National Institute of Justice also concluded in 1998 that D.A.R.E. does not work to reduce substance use. Similarly, another 1998 study by Dr. Dennis Rosenbaum of the University of Illinois at Chicago. Study was entitled Assessing the Effects of School-Based Drug Education, a 6-year multi-level analysis of Project D.A.R.E. Brought into question the strange timing of the D.A.R.E. education, including the assertion that in 5th and 6th grades, the base rates for drug use are generally too low to detect program effects, but by the time drug use levels reach measurable variability 2 to 3 years later, aka when they're getting to middle school and even high school, the likelihood of sustained effects from the original program has been dramatically reduced in the absence of sound reinforcement programs. So they're not reinforcing this stuff, and you're left with a curiosity that is leading toward more drug use.
Yeah. I just think South Park summed it up with Mr. Mackey. Saying drugs are bad, okay, is basically the message. And it's a dumb message. Because in one hand, they say drugs are bad, okay, and then on the other hand, they're saying the pharmaceutical industry is selling you a shit ton of drugs to take them. So what's that for mixed signals?
If you're going to buy drugs, it has to come with a receipt. To be
Yeah, you got to have a receipt.
But see, I have a real problem with this, okay? I mean, this is a good point. Why are you teaching 5th and 6th graders who have normally, I mean, unless they come from really bad families or circumstances, no exposure to drugs?
Yeah.
Why are you teaching this at such a low age and then just cutting off any reinforcement? You don't have any programs to reinforce this. You're planting the seed and then you're just walking away. How could anybody think that this is a good idea?
I know, yeah. It really seems as if it's an engineered drug abuse program.
or a commercial for it.
DAP.
So, in January of 2001, the New York Times printed an article about the revelation of the Surgeon General of the United States that year. They categorized D.A.R.E. under ineffective primary prevention programs.
Yep.
And further studies supported this classification by showing that participants sometimes had higher than average rates of drug use. So that was the Surgeon
Seems like
General
they're
of the United
creating
States.
the problem they want to solve. When have we seen the government do that?
Yeah, it's interesting because now you got arguably one of the highest people in the land that's qualified to speak on this, saying that D.A.R.E isn't working
And who
it's
was
actually
that?
making things worse. That was the Surgeon General of the United States.
Which one?
In 2001. Who was the Surgeon General in 2001?
I'm trying to remember. I don't know. I know it wasn't the chick that got fired for recommending masturbation. That was the most bullshit. The Clinton Surgeon General that recommended teaching masturbation in schools, and then they had to fire her. She's a hero. She's a hero. Now,
Not all heroes wear capes.
that's true. David Satcher, our producer, says David Satcher was the surgeon. It kind of looks like a Lincoln, like a black Lincoln.
Oh, yeah, he does.
It's like a black
He looks like
Lincoln.
Lovey Smith.
That's awesome.
Lovey Smith, the coach from...
He was a Bears coach for a while.
Yeah.
He also coached at Illinois. And they need to build that guy a statue. But that's a conversation for another sports-related program.
This guy from the Cosby Show.
Right next to the masturbation surgeon general. They'll build them across from each other. She'll extend her hand.
So, a 2006 study written by Donald R. Lynham and others for the Journal
Line
of
'em up.
Consulting and Clinical Psychology found that D.A.R.E graduates, after a 10-year period, noted no measurable effects of the program on drug use. The study was entitled Project D.A.R.E, No Effects at 10-Year Follow-Up.
It should be a album for no effects.
Yeah. In March 2007, the D.A.R.E program was placed on a list of treatments that have the potential to cause harm in clients
Yes.
in the Association for Psychological Science journal, Perspectives on Psychological Science.
Wow.
That study was called Psychological Treatments That Cause Harm.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's a pretty thorough list
Pretty damning.
of study. Yeah, it's pretty
damning.
conclusive that it's a bunch of bullshit. So, I mean, when D.A.R.E began, it was solely about drug prevention. Because the U.S. Department of Education cut funding for it in the early 2000s.
Oh.
Because the program could not quantifiably demonstrate its effectiveness.
Yeah.
And granted, some various studies, including one conducted by affiliates of Texas A&M University, have concluded that D.A.R.E got a lot of scrutiny because the data is all over the place and people don't know how to interpret it.
Interesting.
But at any rate, in 2004, the program went through a revision of its curriculum to try to reacquire its funding, and it went through a rebranding of sorts. So I want to go through kind of a timeline of what D.A.R.E has done.
So has it become more effective?
I don't think so. But first of all, the timeline. 1983, the original D.A.R.E program was launched focusing primarily on drug resistance education delivered by police officers. So, again, a byproduct of the Say No to Drugs Nancy Reagan project of the Reagan administration. 1984, introduction of a middle school curriculum to complement the existing elementary program, which we found was just not sufficient. 1989, D.A.R.E America was founded.
Oh my gosh.
So
D.A.R.E
that's,
America.
I think, I think the what's the word I'm looking for? The origin story of the D.A.R.E organization. So D.A.R.E America was founded in 1989. They introduced a high school curriculum. Did not help. 1990s, the development of the Take Charge of Your Life curriculum.
Oh.
With an emphasis on modern prevention strategies. Okay, so I mean that's good, but it did not show lasting behavioral outcomes. The data still suggests it was a bunch of bullshit. Between 2000 and 2007, there were significant reforms made, and again, these were in response to the loss of funding by the Department of Education. They added the Keeping It Real curriculum.
Oh, yeah. Keeping it real.
Which was developed in collaboration with Pennsylvania State University and Arizona State University. Of course, Arizona State University is one of the highest rated colleges for partying and drug use.
Yes, it is.
And that study was funded by the National Institute on Drug Abuse. So, I mean, it was conceived to be helpful, but
Conceived.
the curriculum focused on a more interactive teaching style and focused on teaching students to make responsible decisions beyond just drug use. But again, we've seen the data. 2008, implementation of the Keeping It Real middle school curriculum, so they're expanding on this. 2013, launch of the Keeping It Real elementary school curriculum.
This is too hilarious.
So
Keeping it real.
2013 is basically the advent of what we're now seeing, at least in our area, where you predominantly and only have that curriculum in the fifth grade, the Keeping It Real.
Keeping it real.
In 2016, some places introduced a new high school curriculum with 3 distinct modules that provide flexible and cost-effective options for education on responsible decision-making. So I think what we see now and what I've seen firsthand is that there's more of a focus on role-playing, on how to avoid peer pressure and come up with strategies for avoidance or or excuses for why you can't partake.
I can't do drugs, man.
Yeah, and by the way, too, this doesn't highlight when they started rebranding D.A.R.E. as because originally it was to keep kids off drugs. At some point, it became to keep kids off drugs and violence. If you recall that.
No, I don't remember that.
I'm looking here. So I found some of the curriculum here where they have like the different situations they present to kids.
Oh, help me.
And they're not all related to drugs.
Right.
Like one, Oscar saw his best friend take money off at the teacher's desk. His friend said it was only $5, and the teacher probably wouldn't notice.
What the?
Oscar's friend threatened to say that Oscar stole the money if he told.
What? How does this belong in drug teaching?
Well, I think it's like the peer pressure kind of aspect. This one's funny. Your friends are talking about bringing wine coolers from home to the soccer match this afternoon. They ask if you want them to bring you one.
Sounds like
Hell yeah, bring me two.
Sounds like a time.
Right. So I don't have any proof for this, but when I saw those same exact questions, literally, because I saw those in the workbook, I have a feeling that they're trying to create a generation of narcs. Or, I mean, this is one component of their D.A.R.E. strategy.
Snitches get stitches.
They're trying, and they do tell kids this. If you know anybody who's abusing drugs in your home,
Tell on them.
tell on them because that's the only way you can help them.
Communist Russia used to do, and we used to be against that, but now we're a nation of tattletales.
If you think you know anybody who's breaking the law, doing drugs, anything like that, you have to tell us because that's the only way to help them.
Because we give them some fines, and then that's some revenue for us.
Right.
And we'll take their drugs and then turn around and sell them and make some more money.
And do some of them. They'll do some of them first and then sell them.
So this Keeping It Real curriculum, adopted by D.A.R.E., it's now these are later studies. Okay, it's shown mixed results in terms of effectiveness. A comprehensive review was conducted in 2017, and they investigated overall effectiveness, and suitability of that curriculum for nationwide implementation. The review concluded that while some versions of the curriculum could be effective, there were substantial concerns about its appropriateness for D.A.R.E.'s broader audience, its effectiveness in elementary schools, and the lack of rigorous testing for the specific versions used by D.A.R.E. Additionally, while some proponents of the curriculum highlight its use of evidence-based practices and suggest that it is effective in reducing substance use and promoting healthy behaviors, the lack of specific research on the D.A.R.E. adapted versions of Keeping It Real raises questions about its effectiveness in those contexts. It's recommended that more independent and randomized trials be conducted to definitively assess the effectiveness of the Keeping It Real curriculum as implemented by D.A.R.E. in various educational settings. So even though they rebranded this, they brought this new curriculum, it was developed by multiple universities, it's still not showing a lot of promise.
Well, some of this even sounds like it would like teach kids how to get away with this stuff. For instance, this one I found pretty interesting. Rosa and her friend are with some older girls who are smoking. She is afraid when she gets home that she will smell like smoke. Her mother will be angry. How does she explain the smoke smell to her mother? Well, I was yawning and they blew smoke in my face. But no, you like that's gonna tell a kid like, oh yeah, I gotta think about that. Like, I don't want to smell like smoke. Like,
Right.
You know, like
What is
bring
going
some, like,
on here?
You know, cologne or like some gum or something. Like, yeah, that's a good thing to think about. I would have missed that.
So some of the modern curriculum,
Very weird.
It's focused on how do you responsibly and safely report things. So they're also teaching kids strategies about, and it's not just drug use, it's also bullying. So there's a big focus on bullying, which I think is good. But basically, if you witness somebody being bullied, how do you safely and responsibly report that? You know, but it goes for drug use, it goes for violence, it goes for any criminal or
Creating
type of
a generation of
bad
Tell an
busybodies.
adult.
yeah.
Busybodies.
Yeah, they're training kids to basically inform on their peers.
Yeah. Well, this is what a fascist state always ends up doing. And as we slide further down the fascist shoots and ladders game here, we find ourselves going to new depths of depravity. Now, Mongoose, in your investigative journalistic endeavors, I know you got inside of a locker room at one of the local police stations. What did they say about the D.A.R.E programs and how their form was a success?
Well, that day I covertly snuck into the local police station and I hid myself in a locker and I couldn't get out till the next day.
What the fuck?
But regardless, I heard a lot of cop-on-cop sex. I couldn't see it, but they were talking about D.A.R.E most of the time while they banged each other. There was a lot of like 5-on-1 cop-on-chick cop action. We've heard that a lot in the news.
Were they wearing like the D.A.R.E mascot lion head thing while they're...
Furry action? Were they furrying it up?
Yeah, cops are furries.
Yeah. The D.A.R.E lion. Yeah. Jeez.
Wow.
So it sounds like you went through a lot for this story.
Yeah, it was hard work.
Yeah. Well, that's good. We need more of these kinds of investigative journalistic endeavors. All right. If you know of cops doing 5-on-5 or 5-on-1,
Tell an adult.
more, tell an adult and then tell us at email the show packetsandbolts@gmail.com.
We're adults. They can count.
Packetsandbolts@gmail.com. All right. Any final thoughts on D.A.R.E and its ineffectiveness or effectiveness?
I just want to know who's behind this. What's the ulterior motive? Because there is one.
I would like... I have one situation I gotta read. This is hilarious.
Sure.
Casey sends an email to her friends asking if they want to go to the mall on Saturday. All her friends reply to the email they want to go. Brittany's response said she really hoped that Michelle would not go because she smokes. By mistake, Brittany sent a reply to everyone, including Michelle. Oh, reply all.
What the hell?
I literally saw that question the other day.
And what did you do?
It is in the workbook.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what'd you do?
Well, I had to help someone come up with a response to that, yes.
All right. It is Friday. I don't even know what to say to that. It is Friday, May 3rd. Tomorrow is May 4th, by the way. May the 4th be with you. But today is May 3rd 2024. Remember, keep the drugs off you.
Or we're telling
and
on you.
Dare to be square. But don't go there. You'll get some hair in the pear.
Who cares?
If you've taken drug abuse resistance education, you can still beat drugs. You don't have to do them.
You could be the drug.
I mean, you're going to want to do them because the cops taught you how.
Yeah, and stop doing the drugs and be the drugs.
Be the drugs.
Be the drugs.
Make the drugs do you.
Remember to keep packing those bolts. Till next time. See ya.
Real goat.